Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The NL West seems like a division that's easy to predict who will win, but what will the Dodgers do after that? Also, the AL East seems like it's the Orioles to lose, and the Bengals would be the best landing spot for Justin Jefferson. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Los Angeles Dodgers went out and signed a major league roster that would rival most countries' GDP in terms of cost. With that come high expectations. And we're not just talking about the NL West division title.
Welcome into our Locked On Sports 2024 MLB season preview. I'm your host, Tanitra Batiste, and joining me are Locked On Dodgers, Jeff Snyder, Locked On Padres host Javier Reyes, Locked On Giants, Ben Kaspek, Locked On Rockies, Paul Holden, and rounding out the crew, Locked On Diamondbacks, Miller Thomas. Our guys are here to talk NL West, and we're going to dive right into it because there's a lot to dig into for this division. Last year, the Dodgers finished atop the NL West. The Rockies finished at the bottom. Paul, who's in first this season at the end of the regular season, and who's in last place in the division at the end?
Unfortunately, the evil empire reigns supreme over the NL West, and I unfortunately will have to concede that I think the Dodgers will be at the top of the NL West at the end of the season. Now, what they do in the playoffs, that is still to be seen. It's a team that has to prove themselves in the playoffs, even with this big roster. We've seen it too many times with this Dodgers team where there's all this momentum, there's all the hype, and then in the big moments, they aren't able to get to the big game. They certainly have the tools to do so. They certainly spent the money to be there. They are certainly the team to watch in all of baseball. But I have the Dodgers at the top of the division there. And unfortunately, that leaves a really tough hill to climb for my beloved Colorado Rockies.
Indeed, indeed. How about you, Jeff? You see your Dodgers at the top of this division at the end of this regular season?
Yeah, I mostly just want to congratulate Paul on correctly pronouncing the word playoffs twice. I didn't know if he had enough experience to do that. But yeah, you know what? The Dodgers, like you said, unfortunately, it's true. Winning the division isn't really the problem most of the time. The Giants did have one fluke season a couple of years ago when they won it. But for the most part, the Dodgers wins. Yeah, and how they do before and after. Anyway, the Dodgers, they're going to win the division. And the big question is by how much and who else grabs one of those wild card spots, because unfortunately what the D-backs showed us last year was that you can grab a wild card spot and go really, really deep in the postseason.
Yeah, that's kind of where my thought was as well. And it's interesting because, Javier, I kind of look at it and I think, hey, and we know all too well here in Atlanta what that looks like. But ultimately speaking, you still want to win. There's something to be said about winning the division. There's something to be said about the potential position that can put you in. Do you think the Dodgers get it done again this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, like Jeff said, that's never been the problem, is the division, first of all, just to attest to that. And with everything they added this offseason, it would be actually more impressive if they didn't, I think, at this rate. I'm not even trying to be mean. I think that would be a huge upset if they don't win the National League West this year. And the playoffs, look, has every person, with the exception of Paul, no offense, his team beat the Dodgers in the playoffs more recently, aside from the COVID shortened year? Yeah, the Diamondbacks. I'm pretty sure. I don't know when the Giants did, but I'm just going to assume
never.
I'm just going to assume
never has. They only played once. Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy call. And again, I'm going to echo what everyone else says. The division is not the problem for them, and it took the one time they didn't win the division in the last decade. It took 107 wins to hold off a 106 win Dodger team, and so they are not one of those teams that just has a major disappointment of a season like the Padres did last year. We were all on here last year. Everybody but
two of us,
Jeff and I, picked the Padres to win the division. and they won 82 games, and the Dodgers won 100. And
Ben only didn't pick them because he didn't want to jinx it. He thought they were going to win it too.
I didn't. I mean, I thought it was closer than people thought because of what I'm saying, which is that Andrew Friedman is really good at his job and constructs a roster that doesn't fall short of expectations in the regular season, but in the postseason,
only three teams has won a World Series more recently than the Dodgers. That's all I'm saying. I do respect Javi giving his listeners
and the Dodgers
what they want
blowing it
by
in the
making
postseason.
The intellectually dishonest argument that 2020 doesn't count. But only three teams have won the World Series more recently than the Dodgers. So
look, 2020 counts, but like the reality is most people don't count it, and so that's fun.
That's because most people didn't win the World Series. If every team that won,
nobody cares though. It's just the reality.
World Series, it's
just the reality. I mean,
Padres fans danced in the streets because they made the freaking playoffs in that season.
Padres fans. That's Padres fans.
My take is it counts. However, the problem is that they've had so many blowups.
Get all the info you need on the upcoming Major League Baseball season by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On MLB on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Orioles look like the team to beat in the AL East. Before we get to that, the NFL is mulling some rule changes. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. The closest point spread of Thursday's mega slate of NCAA tournament games belongs to the last one of the day. And the lower seed is the favorite, Drake, a 1.5 point favorite over Washington State, according to our friends at FanDuel. Drake, a super popular upset pick, which is probably why the spread leans that way. Not just the name of a popular rapper. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you the can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NFL's competition committee proposed a revamped kickoff rule Wednesday that resembles the alignment used in the XFL during its 2020 and 2023 seasons, one of a series of high-profile changes owners will consider next week at their annual meetings. The committee also offered a rule that would prohibit what's called hip drop tackling technique. The NFLPA issued a statement Wednesday opposing that proposal. The players' union said, "We cannot support a rule change that causes confusion for us as players, for coaches, for officials, and especially for fans. We call on the NFL again to reconsider implementing this rule." Considering we don't know what a catch is, and most of all the officials don't know what a catch is, maybe banning specific types of tackles, not the best plan. In baseball news, and there's plenty of it, the Los Angeles Dodgers interpreter for Shohei Ohtani was fired Wednesday afternoon after questions surrounding at least $4.5 million in wire transfers sent from Ohtani's bank account to a bookmaking operation set off a series of unfortunate events. Initially, a spokesman for Ohtani told ESPN the slugger had transferred funds to cover Ippei Mitsuhara's gambling debt. Before that story could be published on Wednesday, though, the spokesman disavowed Mitsuhara's account and said Ohtani's lawyers would issue a statement. In the course of responding to recent media inquiries, we discovered that Shohei has been the victim of a massive theft, and we are turning the matter over to authorities. That was the statement. The spokesman declined to answer any further questions. We'll keep you up to date, of course, as this story unfolds. On the hardwood, the Miami Heat got a key win over the Cleveland Cavaliers.
The Heat beat the Cavs 107-104. No Bam Adebayo, who was ruled out with a bruised lower back for this game. No Duncan Robinson, who flew to Miami to deal with his own back issue. Still no Tyler Hero or Kevin Love, but this was all Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier. 30 points for Butler, 24 for Rozier, including 2 step-back threes and 9 total points in the final 90 seconds to put the game away. David, what did you make of the win and Rozier stepping up with the big shots late?
It was a fantastic game. They showed a lot of tenacity. Jimmy Butler consistent throughout the game. Niko Jovic coming back into the lineup after having missed the previous game. But Terry Rozier being able to dominate the way he did late in the game. After the Philadelphia loss, a lot of people questioning whether or not getting rid of Kyle Lowry, trading for Terry Rozier in the process was the right move. This is why you acquired Terry Rozier, because he is fearless in the moment, because he just doesn't care, because he is such a gunner, willing to take those shots when nobody else in the Heat roster, even Jimmy Butler, weren't willing to take those shots.
The Golden State Warriors needed to get a win over the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes, it was the hapless Memphis Grizzlies. Yes, the Golden State Warriors are playing at home. Yes, they were widely expected to win that game. But when you're this deep in the regular season, when you have no idea which Warriors team is going to show up each night, for the Warriors to avoid a clutch game, for the Warriors to have a nice, calm, relaxing, blowout, dominant, kick-ass victory. We'll take it, Dub Nation. 137-116, the final, in a game that, again, the team desperately needed when you consider how tight the standings are right now.
The AL East is the most talked about division in baseball, and neither the Yankees nor the Red Sox were relevant last year. That feels like it might be changing, but they are both still chasing the Orioles.
Welcome into our 2024 MLB preview, and we are going to get right into it in the AL East. Got my guys joining me tonight from Locked On Blue Jays. It's Braden Owasco. Locked On Orioles, Connor Newcomb, our host of Locked On Rays, Kevin Weiss, host of Locked On Red Sox, Gabby Hurlbut, and host of Locked On Yankees, Stacey Getsoulias. Guys, we have so much to get into, so let's jump right in. Braden, I'm going to kick things off with you in a very, hopefully, competitive AL list. Who lands at the top of this division in 2024?
Yeah, so sadly, as Blue Jays fans will be not happy to hear, we think it's going to be the Yankees over here at Locked On Blue Jays. With the structure that they've built, they look really good, to the dissatisfaction of all Blue Jays fans everywhere. We're sorry to tell you that.
I absolutely love it. And so, Braden, since you kind of started the Petty Fest, I'm going to take it to Gabby. And Gabby, who's going to finish at the top of the AL East?
Yeah, I mean, as a Red Sox fan myself, I absolutely do not like that answer that the Yankees are going to win the division. I actually have the Orioles winning the division. I think they fixed a lot of their problems they had this offseason. They primarily needed pitching. They went out and got an absolutely star pitcher to add to their rotation. They're going to have some people coming back fully healthy, presumably. I just think they look really good again. I don't have a reason to believe that they'll take a step back from last year. So I still see them talent-wise as at the top of the division.
And Connor, you think about exactly what Gabby said. The Orioles went out and really kind of beefed up their pitching staff, but did they beef up the staff enough to land themselves at the top of the division?
I think Corbin Burns helps. You go and get one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball. Now, it was addition by subtraction. Kyle Bradish might be getting Tommy John surgery, might be out for the year. He was their ace last year, but I think I've picked the Rays to win this division pretty much every single year we've done this, and it's been crazy every year to pick the Orioles, but they are the defending champions. So I might as well just go with the Orioles. And I think with Corbin Burns, some of that move was maybe more of winning the playoffs than winning the regular season, which they failed to do last year, but why not? Let's run it back.
Hey, Kevin, there's another Kevin out there who would love to have the Rays do nothing but land atop the AL East, but will they do it?
I guess myself and Connor were scratching each other's backs because I have the Orioles winning the division this year. I still think the Rays will make the playoffs, but the young core of the Orioles, I just think they're going to continue to grow and thrive. And Corbin Burns is, one of the big stories of the offseason. So that gives us in Tampa Bay a little bit of scary vibes going into the season.
Indeed. And Stacey, no pinstripe love except one way. So I'm going to let you chime in and let us know if you think maybe the Yankees will surprise everyone in this division and land on top.
I'm picking the Orioles. I've been saying it all offseason. I'm picking the Orioles too. They may take a step back, but maybe by 3 games. I really feel like the Orioles are going to be very good again. And like everyone was saying, the addition of Corbin Burns is a big one.
Get all the info you need on the upcoming Major League Baseball season by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On MLB on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Bengals should trade for Justin Jefferson. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Gametime has plenty of last-minute tickets to your favorite team. They also make it easy to get in the gate with flash deals and zone deals. Gametime makes it easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. They've got views from all the seats in the venue. They've got the lowest price guaranteed. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, new Gametime users get $20 off your first purchase with code LOCKEDON. Terms apply. Just download the Gametime app and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets. The lowest price guaranteed. Justin Jefferson has no interest, apparently, in a long-term deal with the Vikings. Could he be on the move? If he is, Locked On NFL hosts Tyler Rowland and Alex Clancy see the Bengals as the perfect spot for him.
Just let's let the wheels fall off and go to the team you were closest to growing up, the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, do you want to have those cryptic tweets? Not cryptic, because cryptic can't be like positive joking can't be cryptic. And it can't be cryptic if it's coming from a different player who happened to play with Justin Jefferson on arguably the best offense that college football has ever seen in Jamar Chase. If they're going to have that void that T. Higgins was going to fill with money, and you want to give it to Justin Jefferson, that's going balls to the wall. You're drafting rookie running backs. You're giving running backs $11 to play for you, and you're throwing the ball 50 times a game. Because here's the thing. Minnesota, I think they made their decision on Justin Jefferson when they let Kirk Cousins walk. They could have given Kirk Cousins more money, I'm sure. But I feel like drafting Justin Jefferson and having drafting J.J. McCarthy and having Justin Jefferson there doesn't compute. And it's interesting you bring that up about Randy Moss and Stephon Diggs. I forgot Randy, like I knew, but I forgot. And it's something that's interesting. And remember, we had this, okay? The fact that he didn't sign an extension before the beginning of last season, that was it. And then he got hurt again. Like, it's not like Justin Jefferson has played every game in the NFL. He's missed multiple games in a couple different seasons. So I think that probably has something to do with their decision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're the Bengals and you've seen what works for you, Burrow having two outstanding wide receivers, you can get as far as the Super Bowl with that. I think you would have to push all in if they really had the opportunity to do that. So that's why I brought it up at the beginning.
The problem with the Bengals is, number one, they don't make trades. And number two, they would have to pay Justin Jefferson. They don't want to pay Justin Jefferson. We know that because they don't want to pay T. Higgins. And I understand T. Higgins not as good as Justin Jefferson, but he's one of the 12 or 15 best receivers in the league. And they don't even want to pay him to be that because they have to pay Jamar Chase on top of already having to pay Joe Burrow. This is a team that in the last few years has spent a little bit more money, but over its history has been loath to pay almost anybody. And now they're going to pay not one, but two top of market receiver contracts. There's absolutely no chance. Now, would it be really fun to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson reunite in Cincinnati? Absolutely, yes, it would. But the Bengals are not doing it. They're just not the right team. If you want to put him in a position to succeed on a team that desperately needs him. So that takes the Chiefs off. We know the Chiefs can win without Justin Jefferson. They've done it the last 2 years. There are teams that would make more sense. A team that is one receiver away potentially from being that team in their conference. Ironically, the team that makes the most sense is the Buffalo Bills. The team that traded the pick that turned into Justin Jefferson for Stephon Diggs. Put Justin Jefferson with Josh Allen. Oh, now you've got something. And they can pay Justin Jefferson, and they've gone through some bloodletting with their contracts, but Stephon Diggs does not seem long for this world in Buffalo. You bring Justin Jefferson in, you put him long-term with Josh Allen, and now you have maybe the most explosive quarterback-receiver combo in the league. And who would they be competing with? Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And finally, You ever been fired from your job, but your boss told you that you could finish the project you're working on? Yeah, me neither. Well, it did happen to Long Beach State head coach Dan Munson. He was fired on March 11th, but told he could finish the conference tournament with the team. Long Beach State then won their conference tournament, which means they get an automatic bid to the big dance. So Munson keeps on going too. The lame duck coach had a perfect analogy for the situation, saying, "Did you see the Seinfeld when George was trying to get fired and couldn't lose his job, still going to work every day? That's me. I'm a Seinfeld episode going on right now in real life." Long Beach State is a 15 seed and drew Arizona in the first round, so the ride may end soon, but this is an incredible ride, which is fitting because Seinfeld loves cars. Great ride. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, what can you expect from the biggest weekend in college basketball? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.